talking. My name is Sarah Otieno, and this is The Day, is what we are watching and listening to right now. We are talking about the hard economic times in our country and why really we are having so much hardships when it comes to surviving, even for one day. Please remember, this child is not earning even a single cent. They are not even contributing to tax in any way, but they already owe the government that amount of money. Well, someone would ask, with our population right now, why is it that we have so much debt? So the population stands at 47.5 million, and it's growing drastically. And our debt right now as a country is 5.9 trillion Kenya shillings. Well, that's a lot of money, if you ask me. And that amount, trust me, is going to grow. Well, why do we have such tough economic times in our country? Today in studio, I have the perfect person to help us discuss this and what we can do as a country to make sure that we improve our status. I have Mr. George Mwakisha.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
From Top Performers
Consulting Firm, yeah.
Karibu sana to the studio.
Asante.
Why do we have such tough times in our country?
Mm-hmm. Well, also when you say tough times in the country, compared to who?
Well, let's just go directly to economically. Why is it that every year it keeps getting tougher, if I may use that word?
Well, I think we are putting too much of a gun on our heads. We are not that bad, though. But again, we have to also to discuss why is it that we're not getting better. As a country, we need to have put structures in place so that people can learn how to generate income for themselves. You see, the society is made up of a framework of people who think the same across board. Yeah. Whereby you find most of the people have been conditioned that you go to school, all right, finish your primary, get to high school, after high school, get your degree, look for a job. Now, what is that resulting to is that we're having a lot of people who are thinking the same, whereby people are not thinking innovation. People are not thinking growing, producing. People are thinking employment. Yeah. I need to finish this to get employed. I need to finish this to get employed. So that alone leaves a whole lot of people in one corner who are struggling for a very small meat of pie. Okay. All right. So that also begs for, and you see, an economy is usually grown mostly by entrepreneurs. So if we don't have a lot of production, okay, we find that we have so many people seeking for a very small opportunity. Yeah.
But then you pointed that out, that everyone is actually looking for employment. But right now with the trends in our country, white-collar job is the way to go. And that is a perspective that most young people have.
Which is wrong.
Is that the problem?
That's one of the major problems. Yeah. Because you see, we think the same. Now, I'm actually happy with the new education system. Yeah. They've introduced recently, the competence-based, whereby it teaches kids to have sort of you grow your talents. All right, grow your own talents, because if you don't grow who you are, you see, we are all born differently, and if you condition people to think and conform in a certain manner, you lose them as humanity, because people were made to become something. You see, we are all brought here to become something unique. You have a specific solution you have as a human being to the world. Now, if you don't grow up exploring that aspect of yourself, you end up becoming a burden to the society which you're going to be. Right, either the country, whether it's your family, okay, because most people become dependent. So if you're employed, you're actually depending on your employer to give you a salary, all right, at the end of the month. So what if that one is cut off? What's the next course of action? Okay, so with that alone, we end up having a lot of people in one area. Now, if you think of people on other economies like Sweden, they grow up. The society to think innovation. That's why I find such a country, they have a lot of innovations, including mobiles and stuff like that. And then in Africa, not only Kenya, in Africa as a general, we have been conditioned to become consumers. We don't think production.
Really?
Yes.
That's very sad to know.
It's a very, very sad state of affair, because people, usually think, what can I use? And make it like this is the best thing to do. Like it looks like a trend to consume a product like, let me just give an example. The whole of continent of Africa, we don't have our own social media platform because that's the most trending thing anyway.
Oh, yes.
So with that alone, we are made to make others rich and we don't make ourselves rich. We don't have that mentality of thinking, what can we do as Africans for ourselves, or rather something which is uniquely made for an African? Okay.
And if I'm getting you right, then clearly the problem starts from within.
Exactly.
From every individual.
Exactly. I keep saying the power is within.
Yeah.
I usually use that quote a lot. Yeah, because if we don't start thinking, what can I give to the world, right? What is it that we can give out? Now, as I say, Africa, we've been made to be consumers. Let me take it a bit further. When it comes to things like clothing, it's classy, it's stylish to wear Gucci, to wear clothes from outside the country, okay, Giorgio, Armani, and so on. But it's a bit backward to put on our own.
An African wear.
Exactly. I'm also a suspect here because, again, I'm putting on a suit from outside the country. So that, and this, it basically is the notion that I'm smart. Okay, who made it us think that way? Okay, if we can all produce our own clothes and make them trend, make them fashionable, make them stylish, and sell those to the world, what are we doing? We're going to bring money to the continent. Okay. So if we all start thinking that way and reinvent what we've been conditioned to think, then we'll start seeing things turn around.
But let me ask you something, Mr. Mukisha.
Yes.
Recently there was a report that was released stating that the economy of our country has grown.
It's growing, yes.
It is growing. And it has grown by 5.8%.
True.
Okay. Let's break it down kidogo. Roads, that they talked about roads, they talked about agriculture. Right now we have the SGR. The infrastructure is really good. Very good. But I keep asking myself, and this is something that the president also raised and said that, the reports are showing we are growing. But why is it that it's not trickling down to the common mwananchi? So if you ask me right now, or just ask anyone in the streets, and we'll be looking at some of the views from people in the streets of Nairobi, they're saying that they don't feel this growth.
True.
In fact, it's going the opposite direction.
True.
Why is it that way?
Now, I'm going to bring a very controversial approach to this. And I'll just throw one question back to you. Did the report say who is growing the economy?
No.
Okay. Now, because the farmer who was supplying, let's say, sukuma wiki to Marikiti market, to Kongwea market in Mombasa and wherever, let's say 10 years ago, I still believe it's the same farmer doing the same thing the same way. If that farmer, okay, we'll come back to that farmer. Now, all of a sudden, the country has hired expertise, has hired international people.
Exactly.
Okay, in this case, Chinese and stuff, to come and build our roads, to come and build our infrastructure and so on. Now, these guys, when they come to the country, they don't just come empty-handed, right? They just come and look for opportunities as well, as they do what they're doing. As they construct roads, they're looking at, there's like an empty land here. Can I buy that?
And that's why we have Chinese people selling mitumba in Gikomba, something that was very controversial for Kenyans.
True indeed.
Yeah.
But before we even go there, this China guy has come he's been given a contract, an SGR contract, and he's part of the business. And then, he calls his friends, tells them, hey, I've discovered there's like a piece of land here, which we can buy and raise a flat. All right? And all of a sudden, there's so many flats popping up across Nairobi. Most of them are apartments, okay? They're they're just building to sell, and they're leasing there for 99 years, all right? If you've done a bit of research on those. So, because they're so sure in 99 years, they've made their money. They can go away and leave you guys with your properties, all right? Now, who is building these properties? So, of course, the economy is growing, but it's growing on who? If it was the farmer who was supplying maize to Marikiti, who is all of a sudden raising up a flat, then that's a good economy.
Yeah.
Because that means we have growth from below up. But if we have new people coming to invest in the country, or rather to buy properties in the country, to invest in the country, and and for the common person, it's not changing, it's the same, then that means it's not changing to the person, but again, it's changing for the country, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, I would think in this line, you see, they come into our country, make money from within our country, then go back with the profits to their country.
Exactly.
So basically, we remain with nothing.
Exactly. Now that is robbing the economy indirectly, right?
Wow.
Because as you say, what is happening actually, not even in Kenya, but across Africa, is that I happened to travel to Ghana early last year, and when I went there, all the posh areas are just occupied by Chinese. Now, just somewhere next there, they have a big hotel.
Yeah.
Now, that hotel is not like it's a business hotel. It's a hotel to come and host their friends who are out to either seek opportunities. So they just come, probably rent there for a while, and they find an opportunity, then they probably pay back and stuff like that to find their own places. Now, there's so many Chinese in Accra. Okay. Now, I understand it's the same in Zambia, all over. In fact, in Zambia, there was this picture which was running social media. This guy who was anachoma mahindi kwa barabara, a Chinese guy, yeah? A job which can be done by anyone.
Yeah.
Very sad state of affair. Now, if you look at this guy who's selling mitumbas in Marikiti, you see Chinese as a country, it's extremely overpopulated, and it's a goal for the government there to depopulate, or rather to help spread out the people across the world. Now, if they get an opportunity, that's how they do it. Okay, and they get easy because number one, there's this worship that they are here to help build the roads, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But in the real sense, they're here to
make money.
Yes.
Their own money.
Yes.
But where do you think is the problem? Can we say the problem is with our government and the regulations we put in place, or are we just soft?
Okay. Partly, no. Okay, well, partly, yes, the government has a big role to play. Now, I understand at that time, the immigration had a real big role to play, because what they were doing is these guys could come as expertise to do jobs which could be done by locals.
Yeah.
And how are they getting the visa? How are they getting the work permits? You see, so that's a problem with the government. The government really has to come out clearly. Who do we permit? Right now, I also blame our thinking, whereby we think that anything foreign is good, and anything which is probably local, it's bad.
Yeah.
So a common person will see just generally a white person selling now, let's say the same tumba, and his neighbor, a black man, selling the same, but rather go to the white person to buy the same product he can buy from the other. Now, how was the Jews' economy built? The Jews had a structure. In fact, even this one is extremely also in the Indian community, whereby $1, in this case 100 shilling, when you have it in your jurisdiction, or rather in your society, you make sure it rotates 7 times before it goes out of the society. All right. That makes a certain concoction of wealthy people. You have to make sure you buy from your own.
Yeah.
Okay. That way we'll grow. Otherwise, if you just think that anything which is coming from outside is good, you're only killing your own industries. Yeah. And I can give an example of one of the famous politician who passed on around 1984-85, called Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara made it clear that in his country, which was Burkina Faso, people have to wear clothes from the country.
Yes.
Period. And that exists up to now. And that became fashionable. All right. It's only in Kenya whereby we don't have our own traditional, we can call it our own fashionable Kenyan cloth. All right. All of a sudden you see guys selling clothes from Ghana, okay, or attires from Nigeria. But where is the Kenyan one? Can't we just come up with our own traditional attire? I remember there was a time even the parliament was trying to approve such a thing. I don't know what happened. I can't remember much.
Yeah, and I also remember the proposition that every Friday people from a certain office should wear the African wear.
Which is supposed to be that.
Yeah.
You see, that way you grow it. You grow the economy.
Yeah.
You grow the person who is saving clothes from the tailoring shop, right? You grow the ideas of young people who are printing T-shirts in the streets and stuff like that. You grow your own economy when you try to help others make money.
Yeah.
But if all of the time we think we have to import, that's more fashionable, we are only killing our economy. So the economy basically is not just thinking people don't have jobs, people are being taxed, overtaxed. I don't know what, because things like taxes will always exist. We can't run away from those.
And talking of taxation, we'll get to that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But let's also talk about the common person. Let's take, for instance, the agricultural sector in our country. And I'll talk about maize. There has been a push and pull with the government and the local farmers. There is no payment. The maize are staying in the granaries for quite some time. Spoilage.
That's a very, very sad state of affair.
Yeah.
Very, very sad indeed, whereby you find farmers are working extremely hard to produce, but at the end of the day, they have no place to sell what they're producing. Now, let's go away from maize farmers. Recently, there's this report that actually milk is being spoiled. It's being spilled off because because the suppliers are not the what do you call these guys? The production farms are willing to buy at an extremely low price from which the farmers are selling.
Yeah.
Now, from the shelves, I've been observing the same liter of milk is still around 50 shillings, 45 to 50, right? Actually, that's half a liter. So
that's 500 ml.
500 ml, that packet, yeah. While they are buying 1 liter from the farmer, and they are negotiating all the way down to 17 shillings per liter. Okay. 17 shillings. I saw that. I was like, what?
That's extremely low.
And the farmers are saying that our production cost is 27 shillings per liter. If we sell at 17, we're not making any money.
It's a loss.
Yeah, we better just pour off this milk.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the same government. Now, the problem with our government is more of cartels controlling the economy. That is the biggest challenge we have. We have people who are not really willing to help people make money. You just don't want to decentralize function. You just don't want the farmer down there to make money. You just want them to keep crying all the time. And that's a very sad state of affair, because if a government itself cannot work hard to help people grow, it's just killing its own people. Okay, people can't make money. You're just making it very hard for people to make money.
Okay.
That is very, very sad indeed. Yeah.
And you've talked about cartels, and I can't help but wonder. You see, like, let's say in the last year, we've had so many scandal cases. And in this case, I'm talking about corruption cases. There was supposed to be a dam somewhere. Billions of shillings were put into that project. Then it goes, voila, everything is quiet. And when you look at these cases, basically it's big political parties, political persons that are involved. So can we say that there is a discontinuity between the person who is extremely rich and that person who is in the middle class and consequently the poor?
Of course,
and especially considering the fact that kuna big wins hapa katikati, the big people.
Actually, the fact is the gap between the rich and the poor is extremely big. J.M. Kariuki, the late, he was extremely against the government at the time for, guys were grabbing land, so he could talk out loudly. And there's this statement which he put that our country is made up of 10,000 billionaires and 10 million beggars. At that time, I think the population around 10 million.
Yeah.
So 10,000 billionaires and 10 million beggars. You can just imagine.
Yeah.
So, of course, it goes back to these cartels and these politicians, this corruption thing. we have people. Okay, when I don't know how I can blame this problem, because when we were first colonized, the colonizers, of course, came and started grabbing lands.
Yeah.
Now, the people who were taught, who are actually the first beneficiary of, let's say, the power from the colonizers, they thought very fast to themselves, this is the way to go. We just grab for ourselves, don't care about the masses.
Yeah.
All right? And that's now where the problem is. We have a lot of people with a lot of scarcity mentality, whereby you think if you have so much for yourself, you will thrive. I mean, but that's not success. Success is whereby you have yourself enough, and you help many other people progress. And that's how you get blessed, right? You end up getting a lot of wealthy for yourself by helping more people become wealthy. But if you think that if you help yourself get so much, there's this artist called the late Tupac Shakur. He said, there is so much. There's only one room you can always sleep in. You don't need to have a mansion with 50 rooms. I mean, 50 rooms. You'll be sleeping in one room per week. How? It's not possible, and that's not even satisfactory to a human. Human nature. So that mentality whereby I need to grab, take, crash, kill, then I have everything for myself, I have all the power. It's actually throwing yourself to the grave in the long run. Because at the end of the that's the sad part, actually. Yeah.
And that is where we are going wrong as a country.
True.
All right. Continue sending in all the questions and comments you have about this economic status of our country to the WhatsApp number 0786 316 316, and the SMS line is 20316, and we will surely be looking at some of them and even analyzing and criticizing some of the things that we as Kenyans, you as an individual, is doing to bring down the economy. Well, let's go to the people who are employed. And just last year, and this is according to the Registrar of Companies, only in 2019, 388 companies closed down. Please remember, we've not talked about those who are being retrenched, and in this sector, some of our colleagues in the media, my colleagues in the media, were actually very much affected. So what is causing this downward trend, especially in the companies? Small businesses are closing up.
Well, I think it's time for everybody to wake up. I think we've been sleeping for too long. We've been thinking the same way for way too long. It's high time we just wake up and ask ourselves, where is everything going? Not just small companies, not just small businesses, but where is everything going?
Yeah.
Now, when you ask yourself that question, you broaden your mind to start thinking differently. Because the thing is, technology is taking over very, very fast. It's taking over a lot of things in a very short span of time. And it's extremely growing rapidly. And as a result, it replaces, you see what the technology does? It just replaces the traditional way of doing things. But it does not necessarily change the way people make money.
Yeah.
It just replaces the traditional way of doing things. Now, take an example for a computer. Let's say around let's say 30 years ago or 20 years ago, a computer was not a very common thing in the public domain. Right? It was it was basically reserved for the rich, really, when it came in. It was not so common. But now computers are everywhere. Okay? Right now, in fact, back then, I think around 90s, if you know computers, you're like the genius. You're like a guru in IT or something.
And that's only Word, Office.
Exactly, that's Word, Office, Excel and stuff. Right now, I mean, if you don't know computer, people, I mean, it's like...
Where are you living?
Yeah, where have you been? So... that is how... Now, what has computer done? It hasn't changed much, but what it has done really, it has changed the way we communicate. Information spread is just differently communicated now via computers, via laptops, via mobile devices, through, of course, the internet. Now, it has changed even the media, because initially you need to get a print for you to get to understand what's going on in the media sector. But now you just need a phone. You just Google and stuff and learn everything. Now, also computers have also helped people learn more. You can learn a lot without even going to school through computer and stuff.
Yeah.
So that alone has replaced so many industries, the publishing sector, the communication sector, and all those. Now, most of these industries are just being replaced by technology in one way or another. It might not show that directly, but it's because the owners of those farms are not planning ahead of the time. I had a time with Dr. James Mwangi on one of his talk, and he said, the reason why Equity Bank as a bank has managed to stay on top of the game ahead of the rest, and it's still flourishing and expanding across Africa, it's because every 10 years it always evaluates itself, sits down and then looks at itself and says, okay, what is it that we are so comfortable on, and what is it that might change us? They look at the way things are being done, and they think fast ahead, right? Where is the trend going? And from there, the word he used is they distract themselves every 10 years. Every 10 years, they have to just sit down and reevaluate, how do we disrupt ourselves? Right? You disrupt yourself to the technology and to the trends. And that's why you find a bank like that will always be there, because it thinks ahead before things become famous.
Yeah.
Now the rest usually copy. If I'm not so wrong, by then I've been in the banking sector for over 10 years. So if I'm not so wrong, Equity was the first bank to come up with mobile banking. If I'm not wrong, I can remember that. But one which I'm very sure, it's the first bank to bring agency banking, and all of a sudden all the banks have agents. Okay. All right. Equity Bank the same, mobile banking, all the banks have.
So if I'm getting you right, failure to plan ahead is what is causing
these companies,
cases.
Most of these companies to fail
and retrenchment.
And because you don't equip yourself for the next trend of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And consequently, then the people are affected.
Of course.
And again, the economy of our country is affected.
Now, let me not even pin it down so much to the companies.
Yeah.
Even ourselves as individuals, you need always to evaluate yourself. The same degree which you gained in 2002, it's not relevant anymore right now. So what are you doing right now? Actually, let's even say 2000, because right now it's like 20 years later.
Yeah.
It's not relevant at all. So what are you doing now as an individual to gain new skills for the next phase? Because if you don't re-evaluate yourself now for individuals, I think every 5 years you should evaluate yourself.
Yeah.
Every 5 years, look at yourself, ask yourself, do you have any new skills which can keep you ahead of the time? Like right now, there are many new technologies, which I can mention a few, which are going to be extremely disruptive to the way things are done. Number one is the blockchain technology. Now, the blockchain technology is a decentralized technology whereby control is not centralized. Now, we'll get to that deeper later, but those are technologies which are going to disrupt the way things are done. Now, something with blockchain technology is a very transparent technology. So it cuts away things to do with suspicion, trust. It kills all that. So
that is basically a machine doing the work of a human being and the human mind.
Now, let's talk to the next technology which you have mentioned. That is called artificial intelligence or machine learning. So the AI, the artificial intelligence, or the robotics, sorry, it's not machine learning, it's robotics. We're doing what the human can do.
Yeah.
So the robotics, which is artificial intelligence, can basically do everything. And in fact, we have it all the time. When you go to Google and click Google Map and to go to Family Media, there's like a voice telling you, please take the
turn
right.
turn left.
Yeah, that's machine. It's not a human being. That's not a voice recorded by anyone. It's just a machine guiding you from data, which is filled into those computers. And from there, and it helps you, or rather directs you to what you want to do. That's artificial intelligence. Now you can imagine everything. Now, let me take even, like say, 10 years from now, or 5-10 years from now, you'll walk into a coffee shop, all right? You don't meet any waiters. You meet some machines. It says what you want, how much sugar you want. You just click everything and tells you this is 20 bob. So you put your 20
on
bob.
this computer.
And you go to some machine, you put your cup and you get your cup of tea.
Well, it's getting very serious.
So if we don't think that way, the restaurant guy, the hotel man who's not thinking on those lines, 10 years from now, plan. What plan do you have when that comes to happen? You'll end up closing the shop.
And end up jobless. And in return, end up broke.
Absolutely.
All right. Continue sending them in. I have received some comments and questions. We'll be tackling them in a few while. But for now, we'll listen to some music. We'll be back shortly. And that is Mia Fielders. Others will call her Fielders, with the song Ashes. Remember, we are live on Family TV and also live on Family Radio, where the music does the talking. My name is Sarah Otieno, and this is The Day, is what we are watching and listening to right now. We are talking about the hard economic times in our country and why really we are having so much hardships when it comes to surviving, even for one day. Well, in studio, I still have George Mokisha, who is an economic analyst, and we are talking about how to make this easy for Kenyans. Bwana George, there's so many questions that are coming in, and I think we can answer one of them before looking at what some of the people in the streets were saying about the hardships of right now. January, just to give it a name. January. So Lynette is saying, I totally agree with the employees having to reevaluate themselves. Companies are also responsible for looking ahead to avoid sending so many people home. Thank you for the topic. It should inspire us to see the light in the tough times. I also forgot to put my name. Lynette, thank you so much. I already know your name. Asante sana for tuning in today. And she's actually talking about the retrenchment issues. And there's a question that has also come in from Wangoi. Wangoi is asking, does retrenchment really mean that a company has failed?
Okay. The answer is no. A company can be retrenching because of several things, either redundancy.
Yeah.
Now, if your company is retrenching you specifically for redundancy, it means that it's employing new ways of doing things, and your skills are not relevant or required anymore.
Or someone else can do the same thing as you are doing.
Or yes, that's again, probably you can be replaced easily, basically. So if that's the case, then the company is not really it's not retrenching because it's making losses. It's only that it just wants to maximize its profits by minimizing expenses, which is your salary and stuff. That is now the thing with the companies. But these companies which retrench because either the employees are becoming a burden or they're retrenching to close down. No, those are the companies now which we are talking about.
And they affect the economy.
And they're really affecting the economy. They're also affecting the people whom it's working with. That's why if an employee is retrenched because of redundancy, it's basically their own fault. It's not the company's fault. The company hired you at the time they hired you to utilize the skills which you had. But because you're so comfortable, you decided not to either upgrade your skills or to become more competent.
And that is where re-evaluation comes in.
That's where re-evaluation comes in.
Okay.
So every 5 years, max, make sure you have already distracted yourself. Start from 2 years, whatever you can do. Okay, if you think you want to do a new course, learn new skill, do something new, that's good enough. But also something else which is very important for all employees, it's always to have money aside, doing something for them.
Okay.
Either you invest some money into businesses which not necessarily need a lot of your attention, but which can help you generate income.
But businesses bado kuna taxation.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a few while, But for now, let's look at what the people in the streets had to say. Are they having a hard time or an easy time? Wacha tusikie.
Okay.
Ekonomi ya Kenya wenye wameharibu ni gava. Wanakula sana na hakuna kitu yenye wana deliver. Umeona? So unapata like mtu yote tu ako pale kwa gava, like Kenya Power. Saizi ni monopoly. That's what we should change in this country. Hiyo ndio inatukula hapo. Na alafu Wajamaa wanaendelea kula ni wale wazee wenye wanasema bado aje ati wataki wao vijana waingie kwa maviti na wao wenyewe hawataki kuretire.
Nakumbuka kama kitu kama 2 years ago, unajua ningeamka asubuhi ni kunywa chai, mkate, tusiagisiagi hivi, tusose hivi. Sasa inaona tu ni chai peke yake. Ikienda sana chai na slice 2 hivi, slice 2 za mkate, jua lazima usave za kesho kutwa.
Economy sasa inaona imeharibika kabisa. More especially vitu kama chakula zimepanda sana.
Serikali inafaa ipunguze sana tax. Angalia wamewekea makampuni tax. Mafuta imepanda. Kupandisha mafuta ni kumaanisha maisha pia itaenda juu. Hiyo ni kuonyesha kwamba economy pia ya saizi iko juu sana. Kazi tena hakuna. Kazi zinafungwa badala ya kukuweko.
Serikali na kitu inafaa ipunguze bei ya chakula sana.
The government is to blame to a certain extent because, for example, parliament and senators are too many, and they are always talking about increased expenses, increased salaries, and they are not considering the ordinary people, most of who are being retrenched from their jobs.
Well, from the look of things, people are blaming the government and everyone is saying that, hey, there's something needs to be done, especially when it comes to prices of food, Mr. Mokisha, and just taxation. And I want us to talk about that taxation bit. And specifically, a tax, some regulations that were put forward just the other day by KRA. Patriotism tax. Yes.
Now, there's something which we have to be very clear. Every government has to do what it has to do to get money, including taxing you to the best they can.
That's oppression, Bwana. It's oppression.
It's true.
Yeah.
But the truth is, the government doesn't care much about you as a person or how you spend your money. They don't care. What they care is how much money can they have to run affairs.
From us, from our pockets.
From the people,
of
course. Now, with that notion, always be sure that you'll never run away from taxes.
But don't you think that sometimes it gets to the extreme? Let's break down this patriotism tax kidogo. So for every small business person, as long as they earn 1,000 shillings, then they have to put aside 30 shillings daily. Daily. So that means in a month, it's 9,000.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's why it's called patriotism tax. Now, okay, if you're earning 1,000 shillings daily for 30 days, that means you're earning 300,000.
Yeah.
So if you're sacrificing 30 bob to the government, that's patriotism tax.
If you ask me, I still feel it's too high.
You still feel it's too high. But the question is, what do you expect a government to do? Because a government usually has to make money from its people.
How about tax the big businesses and not even the small businesses?
Of course, that one is there as well.
Yeah.
That one is already taken care of. So with taxation, there is so much little discussion people can talk about whereby we have no control on. Because that's solely a government responsibility to make sure it makes money from its citizens.
Yeah.
Now, we can try to run away from tax and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, a government will always work hard to get as much tax as it can from its citizens. And I believe, actually, we are not that badly taxed. Right? There are countries which are heavily taxed.
Yes.
But again, the only problem we have in our country, which I also want to put myself in every Kenyan shoes, is that we are taxed. People are happy to pay taxes, by the way. It's not like people are not happy to pay taxes. But they need to see value for that tax.
Exactly.
They want to see hospitals, good schools. They want to see those things in the communities. People will gladly be paying those taxes. They want to see good free education, right? Don't tell people free education and then the only schools offering free education are just hovels and shacks. You know? So you need to make sure people see value for their money. So that's where the government is failing. Now, most of the comments from the citizens who are interviewed earlier are blaming the government extremely.
Yes.
And I think it's high time we just have to remove that government thing from our minds first. Let's take responsibilities. Let's see what can we do on our own. Let's not always say, because the government is stealing so much, then I'm going to be poor. Do you think they care?
They don't.
Do you even think a government will care if you're sleeping hungry tonight?
They don't even know.
They don't even and they don't want to know, actually. They don't even know, and they don't want to know. They will only know when now people are dying of hunger, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, some guys are dying of hunger, please, we are eradicating the stuff like that. But however you do your affairs, they have no business at all. So work hard to make extra money from any way you can. All right. Don't only focus on what the government can do for you. Think what you can do for yourself without the government. Think how you can innovate other things which cannot be taxed. There's so many things which can't be taxed, by the way.
Yeah.
So many, including agriculture, by the way. Over the Christmas holidays, I went to my shags, and I could find young guys who are just around, right, drinking, drugs. They're just around.
Who are just there.
They're just there. Just there,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But when you look at their farms, they have big, large farms, which are just, growing shrubs, forests, I don't know, just bushes and all that. Now, there's this notion that if you're in the village, you need to, or rather, every citizen, if you're in the village, it's like you're failed. If you're in the city, you're doing well.
Yeah.
But that's contrary. I mean, we have so many people in the city who are extremely poor than some people in the villages. So if people can think that if I am in the village, I can take advantage of this land, whereby agricultural production is not taxed. All right, you can grow your crops and sell them.
Okay.
Recently, I've just read that what do you call these guys? The Chinese guys who are now importing avocados from us.
Yeah.
Have waived the taxes and levies. I mean, what does that mean to the avocado farmer?
Then there is more opportunity.
Exactly. So
And-
you keep
sorry.
producing the same things, the same crops you've been producing 10 years ago, coffees which are not going anywhere, instead of taking care of that opportunity and produce avocados and make extra money. Farmers actually in Eldoret are one of the richest people in the economy. Farmers are one of the richest people. But young people keep thinking that being a farmer, it's a bad thing. No, it's not. It's not.
And we have who is his name is John Juguna Njogu.
Yes.
And he's saying he's a very close friend of yours from
Yes.
Kasarani.
Yes, I
And
know
he
him.
says, say hi to George. Hi, George. And ask him how we can leverage the power of online opportunities like
Absolutely.
e-commerce to actually make sure that the country moves forward.
Good. Now, John Juguna is one of the few unique Kenyans who are making a lot of money online.
Hey,
Alright?
John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this guy and a few friends of ours are making good money online by leveraging the power of technology and
Yeah.
also leveraging the power of the internet. The internet has opened the world. It's a global village. You can do stuff.
Yeah.
Right. You can go online and import, like John Juguna. Basically, he's one of those guys who sells products on Amazon, the big
the
e-commerce platform.
Okay.
Now, how does he do that? He simply imports stuff from China, ships them to America, and sells them there.
Nice.
Yeah.
So there are
Where is the government
opportunities
going to
online.
come here to tax him? Where?
Nowhere.
Unless they now start going to his bank accounts and stuff. But the guy is making good money by doing such a very small and innovative thing. So the thing is, let's all think outside the box. There are many opportunities guys can do. Don't think the same way. When you see someone buying a boda, you also go and buy a boda.
It reminds me
and
of
you
the
make
quail business.
Exactly.
You remember?
But also the coal
Yeah.
business was good for the guys who took the opportunity early.
Yes.
Remember, it's very important to catch trends. If you in anything, catch trends early. The guys who invested in Uber early made a lot of money. If you just put your Uber right now, you'll just be
The
another
profits are very
another
small.
vehicle on the road.
All right, and that also answers the question of Rodney Mutula, who was asking what Kenyans can do. So basically, if I'm getting you right, then it starts with an individual.
It starts with an individual.
Okay.
Let's start changing our thinking. Let's not be the victim mentality kind of thinking. There's so much we can do. And us as youth, or rather young people, let's not focus so much on what the government can do for us, because they have proved themselves they can't do anything for us. So let's think, what can we do for ourselves with the opportunities around the internet? Guys are making YouTube videos and they're making a lot of money. Why can't guys, well, now, okay, of course, things like YouTube videos, if you start doing yours now, they have already been overtaken by time.
Yeah.
So let's catch a new trend. Let's look for the new trends. What is coming next?
Look for that unique
Exactly.
thing. Okay.
And remember, if you're doing a business which is common, you're not going to make money. You're just going to be another one in the industry. So look for what is new, market it to the best of your ability. Be different. Just be totally different. I love one of the program in family called Kuwa Tofauti.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope it's still there. Kuwa Tofauti. In business, you have to Kuwa Tofauti kabisa. You know, that's how you can make money, because now others, by the time they start copying you, you've made money. You're actually probably the employer of the rest.
Wow. All right, thank you so much. I believe that you are going to make a difference, and remember, it starts with an individual so that we can grow the economy of our country. Thank you so much, George, for coming today.
We
have
very
really
much
learned
for
a lot.
me.
Well, have yourself a beautiful evening, and to you too. Thank you so much for tuning in to This Is the Day. I hope you have learned something, and these economic hardships are not going to be your portion, because you are going to think differently and do something different. Kuwa tofauti. Yeah.
Yeah.
Asante sana, and have yourself a blessed night. My name is Sarah Otieno.